You think a rusted truck and dirty boots give you any rights here? This lake belongs to people who actually matter. That's what she shouted at me, standing on my land, using my own dock as her stage phone. In one hand, the other already dialing 911. Picture it, sheriff's deputy, with a palm resting just a little too close to his holster, 3 patrol cars blocking the only road out. All this just for me. Yeah, that happened. And there was Lysandra Vance strutting 20 yards away in a fuchsia pink suit that probably cost more than most folks' monthly mortgage, megaphone in one hand like a general ready to give the order, her little army of HOA loyalists lined up behind her. But what Lysandra didn't see, not yet, was the black SUV convoy rolling in behind the tree line, or the woman who'd step out, badge glinting like a signal flare. "Deputy Calloway," she announced, said it loud enough for everyone to hear. She called me deputy right there in front of the whole crowd. Lysandra's megaphone hit the gravel before she could even finish her threat. Let me back up a sec. Just 72 hours before I wasn't anybody special. Mist was still curling off Carrion Lake, thick and silver like breath off an old dog. I was kneeling on that dock, stretching my tape measure, reading every warped plank, like it could tell me secrets about time. If you saw how patient I was, steady not rushed, you'd know I was a man who learned to wait for things. Some people pace. Some people shout. Me I measure. My wrist caught the early sun, showed the faint crescent scar, a reminder from another life when you get out of the water. Not because you're the prisoner, but because you're the one doing the rescuing. My old Ford F, yeah, the wimpy, sat up by the shore with pressure-treated lumber and marine sealant stacked in the bed. In the cab, a photo dangled from the mirror, a silver-haired man, broad smile, standing under a Camp Carrion-est. 1974 sign. Didn't need to look at it. That man's face is stamped on my own reflection. What nobody could see, what I kept hidden in the glove box, was a 5-pointed bronze star. U.S. Marshal. Badge still hungry for action. I hadn't touched it in 4 years. Sometimes you keep things because you're not done with them. Other times because they're not done with you. That dock, my father built it back in '76 with his own hands. Nails he straightened, wood he'd cut. Anything worth building is worth building twice, once with your hands, once with your heart. For 30 years, that lake was a promise, not just property. Camp Carrion opened its arms to foster kids, orphans, kids who never saw water unless it was leaking through a rusty pipe. My dad showed them a better summer, no government funding, just stubbornness and a heart too big for his own good. Then Whitmore Development arrived with forged documents and a legal team more expensive than most folks' houses. They wanted the land, all of it. My father was 78, fighting cancer and corporate sharks at the same time. Couldn't stand in court, but he'd never ask for help. So I did. 3 years of court, 23 appearances. We even made it to federal court when Whitmore tried to bribe a judge. I won. My dad lived to see the deed back in his name. 2 months later, he was gone. But his last words never left me. "Keep the water clean, son." That's all I ever wanted. After that, I quit the Marshals. Officially, it was extended leave. Unofficially, I couldn't look at a badge without seeing the faces I couldn't save. So I came here. To the lake, to the dock, to a life measured in wood grain, not warrants. Thought I'd found peace. I was wrong. If you've never heard the sound of high heels on gravel in the early morning, let me tell you, it's a sound that means trouble's coming. It's the sound of someone who expects the world to make way. Lysandra Vance showed up looking like she'd stepped out of a magazine, perfect pink suit, Cartier watch, Hermes bag, hair that probably cost more than my truck. She carried a basket of muffins, but her smile stopped just short of her eyes. "Good morning," she called, voice all fake warmth. "You must be the new gentleman at the old camp property. I'm Lysandra Vance, president of the Carrion Shores Community Association. Welcome to our little paradise." I shook her hand. Firm but quick, not new. My father built this dock in '76. Her eyes flickered. Smile held steady but cold now. "Well, there may be some confusion about property lines. The HOA has certain expectations. That word expectations, not rights. I have the deed. Federal court judgment. You want to see it? That won't be necessary for now. She set her muffin basket on the rail like she was offering tribute to a god who didn't care about muffins. We should chat soon. The community has questions, the kind of questions that sound a whole lot like threats. I just nodded, poker-faced. You don't survive hunting fugitives without learning how to hide your thoughts. I'll be here, not going anywhere. She held my gaze, sizing me up. Was I a problem or just another pushover? Then she left, heels clicking, pink suit vanishing into the morning mist like a wound closing up. When she was gone, I checked the spot where she'd stood, heel prints pressed into the earth and smaller, fresher tracks. Surveyor's wheels. Someone had been measuring my land very recently. I took photos every angle, old habits. That afternoon, I found my gate padlocked, brand new lock. Next to it, a young man in a black uniform, compliance officer, printed on his plastic badge. Looked official if you squinted. Sir, this area is under HOA jurisdiction, he called before I even reached the gate. You'll need to turn around. What's your name, I asked. Dustin Cleary, compliance officer. And who told you to put a lock on my gate? He pointed at a provisional seizure order taped to the post. Legalese fake seal signed by Judge Edmund Pryor, who I knew for a fact had been dead 2 years. I'd been at his funeral. So they were using a dead man's name to steal my land. I started recording. You might want to call your boss, I said, because what you just did is a federal mistake. Dustin turned pale. This is legal. Mrs. Vance gave me the paperwork. Signed by a dead judge. That's not legal. That's felony fraud. He fumbled, hands shaking, took off the lock, muttered, This isn't over. No, I told him it's just beginning. Couple hours later, sirens. 3 sheriff's cars come flying down the road. I stood on my porch, coffee mug in one hand, other hand empty and visible. Cops make bad decisions when they're scared. The deputy, Mercer Holbrook, looked tired, old, but sharp. Sir, we got a report of an armed trespasser on HOA property. This is my property, deputy. Deeds inside. Lysandra was 20 yards away, megaphone ready, filming everything. That man is trespassing. We have a seizure order. Mercer checked the paper, checked the deed, checked me. Mr. Calloway, this judgment says you own it all, including the lake. But this order is signed by a dead judge. I was at Pryor's funeral. For the first time, Lysandra looked rattled. Mercer called her out in front of everyone. Ma'am, the judge on this document has been dead for 2 years. If this is a forgery, that's a felony. The crowd started murmuring. Phones lowered. Lysandra's voice shrank. This is a misunderstanding. Our legal counsel will clarify everything. Mercer was having none of it. I'll need the name of that counsel, and I'm filing a report. Lysandra turned on her heel, crowd melting away behind her. After they left, the treasurer, Opal Merriweather, showed up at my cabin paper bag clutched to her chest. She'd been keeping 2 sets of books for Lysandra, one for the board, one for Lysandra's personal stash. $340,000 vanished. All legal fees. But Opal had the routing numbers, transfers, and emails. Also a bonus for selling me out $1.2 million from Whitmore, the same company I'd beaten in federal court. Opal pushed the bag across the table, hands shaking. She told me to destroy the records. I couldn't do it. I'm done pretending. That was the twist, Opal, the quiet bookkeeper, risking everything to do the right thing. Jocelyn, my old contact in the Marshals, confirmed the lake was in a federally protected watershed, which meant Lysandra's little game was now a federal crime. 4 days later, they made their move. Caterpillar excavator came barreling down the road, headed straight for my dock. Roland Vance watched from a black Mercedes. The operator was just doing a job, but a neighbor, Hartley Finch, caught the whole thing on his dash cam, including Roland handing the operator cash in a parking lot. My father's dock, 40 years of memories, got ripped to splinters. That was enough. I called a journalist, Nola Tisk, showed her everything, the court judgment, the forged documents, Opal's evidence, the dash cam footage. This isn't a property dispute, she said. This is organized theft, corruption. Her article ran front page next morning. The whole county read it. Now the HOA couldn't control the narrative anymore. At the emergency HOA meeting, Lysander tried to rally the crowd, blaming me for everything: assault, property damage, you name it. But a retired history teacher, Shepard Brannock, stood up and unrolled the original 1952 survey map. Showed the whole room the truth: the lake was never community property. Not in 1952, not now. Questions turned into accusations. People wanted their money back, wanted the truth. Then the doors opened and 3 U.S. Marshals walked in, badges shining. Jocelyn Tate stepped up. "This gathering is now part of a federal investigation." She looked right at me. "Deputy Calloway, glad you're already on scene." I pulled out the badge, pinned it on for the first time in years. Jocelyn turned to Lysandra. "You are under arrest for wire fraud, conspiracy, obstruction, and embezzlement." Marshals cuffed her, fuchsia suit and all, while the crowd erupted in applause. Dustin, the fake compliance officer, was next, sobbing as they led him away. Tamsin Polk, the excavator operator, went quietly. Roland Vance tried to slip out, but a marshal stopped him at the door. 6 months later, Lysandra Vance was sentenced to 17 years. Roland lost his assets in the divorce, banned from real estate. Dustin got probation and community service. Tamsin did 2 years. Whitmore Development's CEO resigned under federal investigation. The HOA dissolved, replaced by a new council. Their first act, a public apology to my family. Spring arrived and Camp Carrion opened again. Kids laughing, swimming, finding hope. My badge sits in a drawer now. Jocelyn offered me my old job back, but I said no. I got what I came for: peace. My father asked me to keep the water clean. What he meant was keep the promise alive. You know, some fights are worth everything. Some promises are worth keeping even when it feels like the world's stacked against you. Lysandra thought people like me didn't matter. She was wrong. So tell me, if you were in my boots, would you have waited for them to make the next move or struck first? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's talk about justice and what it really costs. And hey, if this story made you feel something, leave a fire emoji, hit that like button, subscribe for the next story. Justice came to Carrion Lake, quiet, patient, and real. That was enough. That was everything. That was